My name is Sarah, and I'm 16 years old. At this age, I should be focused on finishing high school, hanging out with friends, and figuring out my future. But instead, I'm shouldering responsibilities far beyond my years, looking after our home, taking care of my 10-year-old brother Jake, and my baby sister Lucy, who doesn't even understand what's going on. Mum's gone. They said it was an accident, but that doesn't change the fact that she's not coming back. Dad is here, but he's a shell of himself, lost in his grief. He barely notices when Jake wakes up from another nightmare, or when Lucy won't stop crying. So it's up to me to keep everything together, because there's no one else. The strange things started happening gradually. It was small at first. One evening, I was in the kitchen trying to make dinner. Lucy was fussing in her high chair, and I was barely holding it together when suddenly the stove just turned off by itself. I didn't touch it. It was as if the house itself decided to mess with me. When I looked over at Lucy, she had stopped crying, her eyes wide, staring at something behind me. I turned around, but there was nothing there, just an empty, cold space that sent a chill through me. I wanted to believe it was Mom's spirit trying to help us, but then things started getting worse. The nights were the hardest. Jake began having terrible nightmares, waking up screaming for Mom. I'd sit by his bed, trying to comfort him, but sometimes I'd hear whispers, faint and eerie, coming from the walls. They sounded almost like Mom's voice, but distorted and wrong. It made my skin crawl. One night, after finally getting Jake to sleep, I went to check on Lucy. Her room was dark, except for the light from the moon outside, but as I stepped in, I saw something that made my heart stop. A shadowy figure stood by her crib, shaped like a person, like Mom, but it was wrong. Too tall, too thin, like a twisted version of her. I couldn't move, frozen in place as the shadow stood there, its presence cold and menacing. It didn't move, but it felt like it was watching me, studying me. Then, it leaned over Lucy's crib, as if looking at her. I wanted to scream, to run, but I was paralyzed by fear. After that, the shadow started appearing more often. Every night, it was there by Lucy's crib, always watching. I tried to tell Dad, but he wouldn't listen, just brushed it off as my imagination. But I knew what I saw. I knew something was wrong. One night, I woke up to the sound of Lucy crying. I rushed to her room, and there it was again, the shadow. But this time, it turned toward me, and I saw its face. It looked like Mom, but her eyes were empty, her face twisted with anger and desperation. She wanted Lucy. I could feel it. I tried to reach for my sister, but the shadow blocked me. The room grew icy, and I felt a cold grip on my arm, squeezing so tightly it hurt. I begged her to stop, to leave Lucy alone, but she didn't listen. Instead, she lifted Lucy from the crib, holding her in those cold, lifeless arms. For a moment, Lucy went silent, limp in her grasp, and I was terrified she was gone. But then, as suddenly as it had appeared, the shadow released her. Lucy fell back into the crib, and the shadow vanished, leaving the room freezing and empty. I rushed to check on Lucy. She was fine, still breathing, but I wasn't. It felt like a part of me had been taken away. The house is quiet now. The whispers have stopped. The shadow is gone. But I can't shake the dread. I can't sleep, can't eat. I just sit by Lucy's crib, waiting for her to come back. Because I know she will. She won't stop until she gets what she wants. And I'm scared, because I don't know how to protect Jake and Lucy from her. But I have to try, even if it means losing myself in the process.